For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com, SoundCloud, iTunes, and apparently all those other podcast apps. Again, I'm not really tuned into the whole technology thing, but if you're listening, that's what I appreciate. Feel free to give me a shout. Tell me your thoughts about the show. You can email live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Anytime I do that, I always feel like I'm one of those people who's like, remember to hit subscribe and comment below, and I hate when people do that. So I'm one of those people, it's like, if you like it, cool. If you want to listen again next time, that's your choice. If you don't, really, that's sort of my attitude. All right. But I've been on the radio for 13 years, so obviously, people appreciate what I do. And this podcast has been around for, 200 and some episodes now, every week. Coming up on the show this week, speaking of longevity, Lonestar, the music group Lonestar. Well, we had a conversation several weeks ago, and as always, it ran a little bit long. And so with our radio show, we don't always have the opportunity to run the full interview. So the great thing about this podcast is we can play it for you uninterrupted. No music interruptions, no commercials. We can run it straight through as it happened. And so that's what you're going to hear on the show this week. So our chat with Lonestar from our syndicated country music show is coming up in just a little bit. Now, I want to talk about something online. I've learned these terms, ghosting, and obviously I know catfishing, just from the show Catfish on MTV. The host Neve has been on the radio with us. But ghosting was something that I hadn't heard of before. And the reason why this term came about is that our company has a new project, and we are looking for models. We have, like a clothing company that started up, and we had posted an ad for models, male models. And, there's some people who, fit the part and kind of are, what we're looking for. And then there's other times where they're just not quite what we need. And the great thing is that I appreciate their confidence in believing that, they feel that they've got what it takes to be a model, or that they're a good fit. So I really do appreciate that. And in all honesty, you can look at some of the photos and go, okay, you just really don't understand the look that we're going for, because we did put it up front about here's the website, here, check out the kind of stuff that we're doing. If this is you, or if this is similar to you. So I appreciate that all different kinds of body types have applied, younger, older. Some people just aren't a good fit. Now, that's not really the point of the story. The point of this story is the people who send an application and maybe a photo or two, and we reply to them and say, great, thanks very much. And sometimes there's even a bit of conversation back and forth. We would be looking to do a shoot around this time, or this date. This is kind of how it works. This is what the expectation is. And sometimes we don't even get that far. Like I said, sometimes we get the picture and we send a reply. And you could easily go and say, well, maybe you were spam blocked, or maybe they didn't get it, or maybe they've been busy, or whatever. And we have attempted, several times from different email addresses, because maybe one domain is blocked, another one gets through. But there's some people who just kind of have a conversation and then suddenly disappear. And so we were having a discussion internally about why that would be. Why would you apply for a job, have conversation, and it's not even okay, well, when we started discussing dollars and cents, that's when they said no thanks. These are people who have just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. And it happened quite a few times from what I've seen. The emails weren't going to me. One of the sites, it just kind of accumulates on their website, so when you log in onto your account or whatever, you see the different applications all right there. And so we'd send kind of a form letter through the website. And again, the expectation would be that they're also on the receiving end of it because they've used this website. So it's not like it's even an email that can get blocked. It's internal messaging or whatever it is. And so I was kind of like, is this common? Why would you do this? And so one of the staffers here said it's probably people who just want an ego boost. They just want to know, hey, do I have what it takes to be a model? Hey, could I get a response? And then others maybe were thinking that, hey, I'll use somebody else's picture or, just screw around and, string these people along. And I thought, but that's also really weird because it's different if you're catfishing in a relationship because, maybe you're trying to get somebody's attention and they previously didn't like you or whatever it is. But I was like, why would you do that with a company? Like, what's the point of, stringing them along and, not having it go anywhere on purpose? Like, I don't understand what you get out of that. So what do you think about somebody doing that? You've basically applied for a modeling job and you send us a couple pictures. We say, not that we say, hey, you're hired, we love you, but, hey, let's discuss the next steps or whatever it is, and then just not get anything. What do you think of that? Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. And it's funny, too, because, I don't get looped into that until it sort of becomes further along, until there's discussion back and forth with one of our people, and you hear, what the requirements are or what their expectations are or what they want for pay and things like that. And then when we move to the next step, that's when I'm forwarded the information, and I kind of go, okay, yeah, maybe, we'll see. And it's kind of weird because then I'm like, okay, this person's really got it. They kind of have that sort of playful look that we want. Yeah, you guys, hit them up. Let's see what we can do with them. And then it just goes nowhere. Like, okay. So, yeah, it's very strange. You've reached out to us and said, I'm interested. Here's a picture of me. I can send you my resume if you want. And then you just disappear. Okay, anyway, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Lonestar, legendary country music group Lonestar is coming up right after this.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It seems so long ago that we checked in with the legendary music group Lonestar, so I felt, it's time to do it again. Dean Sams is joining us on the line. Hi, Dean.
Hey, good to talk to you. And legendary, that sounds big.
Well,
sounds impressive.
Well, here's the deal, though. You guys have been in the music industry, I know, since at least the early 90s, right?
I put the band together in '92, so yeah, we've been around. We're celebrating 27 years right now.
And I know you guys were on the show, or well, one of your brothers. That's what he called you guys, brothers. Richie called in. It was July 27th, 2012. You guys were celebrating 20 years. So let me ask you then.
Right.
Let me ask you, what's the secret to that longevity? We don't see that in the music industry that much these days.
It's there's a lot of things I could attribute it to, but I think primarily just a common love of music, the same music that we create, that we all have in common. I think there's a lot of mutual respect that we have for everybody's talents that they bring to the band. And quite honestly, the fans. I mean, the fans, they show up to these shows, and we watch them singing every word, and they're just excited to see us. And how can you, not be excited about walking out on stage and performing and staying together as a unit when you have so much support? And that's really what keeps us motivated.
Yeah, I mean, the fans thing is huge, but also it's got to be your love of music, because if you didn't love it, you wouldn't be doing it. And I know that, and a lot of artists these days just want to be the talent, right? They just want to be the voice. But I know that you produced, it was an entire album, wasn't it?
Actually, I've done our last 3 records.
Yeah.
I've produced those, so it's which is truly such a huge honor that the band trusted me enough to do that. I've been producing music pretty much ever since I've been in Nashville, so I've been doing it a long time. But when you're working with your bandmates, and we've had some heavy hitters as producers in our career. I mean, from Dan Huff, who produced really our biggest records, to Don Cook, who's worked with everybody from us, to Brooks and Dunn, and I mean, just the list that he's worked with goes on and on. And we worked with Justin Niebank and Mark Bright, and I mean, just a bunch of great producers. So just the fact that the guys entrusted me with our sound and producing 3 records was really exciting for me. But I think the albums turned out great, and it was a blast to work with everybody.
Is it a natural progression over time then to have your sound as a group change? Because there's a little bit of a different sound in the 90s, and is that just the group growing up, or why do those changes sort of happen?
Well, I think it's just a progression in music. I mean, we all, I think as musicians, have gotten, I think we've gotten better over the years. I think we've gotten more comfortable with who we are and what we do and what we want to say and what we want to sound like. And, in the early days, you have a lot of people with their hands in the cookie jar, so to speak, trying to shape and mold us, which, we all truly respect everybody that's been part of our career, and we've got a lot of great advice over the years. And but at the end of the day, you finally reach a certain point where you want to stretch your wings a little bit and try different things. I mean, we made a huge transition from the second album, which was Crazy Nights, and going from that to the Lonely Grill album, which had 4 number 1s on it, with Amazed, What About Now, Smile and Tell Her. I mean, that was, if you listen from Crazy Nights to Lonely Grill, I mean, it was a pretty big change, and we were kind of leading the format with the change. And I remember there was a lot of I was told that Murder on Music Row was written about us. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Okay.
I had heard that. There was a song called Murder on Music Row,
Yeah.
and talking about, because we had the crossover success with Amazed. It was a 2-week number 1 on the pop charts, and of course it was a 9-week number 1 on the country chart. And it was different for the format at the time, and I feel like that's really what music is supposed to do. Though it's supposed to evolve and move and flow with what's going on and the trends and what just each act is feeling musically. And when I listen to country radio today, I mean, it's truly a lot different than what we were doing, late 90s, early 2000s. And I'm okay with that, because you know what, that tells us that there's I think it brings new fans to the format, fans that might not be country music enthusiasts before, now are, and then they get to go back. And I've met so many people at our shows that said, I really had never listened to Lonestar, but I'm a Thomas Rhett fan, and I was scrolling through one of his, or a Brett Young fan or something like that, and I know that they mentioned y'all, and they're talking about artists that they like, and so I listen to y'all, and wow, I love your music. So I think it it just helps build the format, and it helps all of us in the long run.
Really what's changed, though, in that time is the recording industry itself and the way you record music. What has been the biggest change or the biggest difference from that first album that you guys recorded?
Wow. Well, the first album, actually, I had a friend of mine in the car. We were driving kind of close to Music Row last week, and as we were driving by, I said, wow. I said, and he goes, what? And I said, look right over here, and there was a brand new high-rise condo. Beautiful, but there was this high-rise condo, and I said, right here where this condo is, there used to be a great recording studio that we recorded our first 2 albums. And you know, back in those days, we were using 2-inch tape,
right.
Recording to tape. It wasn't digital recording like, you know, most people record into Pro Tools or some form of that, you know, digital recording.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, back then, you know, you had to put it down on tape right the first time.
Yeah.
And, you know, you had to get your takes right. And because if you did what we call punching in, like if you messed up on something and you punched in, I mean, you couldn't go back if there was if the engineer messed up and didn't come in at the right time, or if you played the wrong thing. I mean, you could mess up a whole take. So, I mean, you know, things were a lot more precise from the initial playing side of it. Nowadays, I mean, gosh, with digital format, you can take as many swings at a part as you want and really get it technically perfect, which is great in one sense. But in another sense, you know, you kind of lose a little bit of that. Sometimes there's beauty in imperfection, and especially with music. If you go back and listen to some of the biggest records of all time, like, you know, the Beatles and stuff like that, I mean, you know, everything wasn't perfectly in tune, and sometimes they sped up a song or slowed down a song, and that's some of the beauty of that music. And nowadays, you know, we have click tracks, and we can beat detective and get everything perfect. And sometimes you can almost through perfection, you can make things sterile and not feel emotional. And I think that's really the challenge with music these days, is to keep the emotion in the music through the midst of recording in a more perfect environment.
If you could put a timestamp on it, like if you were to tell me back in the day how long it would take to record one song from start to finish compared to now, what would be that time difference, would you estimate?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, I think we used to spend, you know, I mean, time-wise, I mean, we would get a basic track done, and, you know, we would come in, we'd rehearse, we'd do pre-production and whatever before we would ever go in the studio, so we would know the arrangement, and we had all kind of practiced our parts, and then we'd go in, and typically we would knock it out, at least the basic track, we would knock it out in a couple, 2 or 3 takes, and then you can add on an extra guitar part or an extra piano part, and then, of course, you would do the vocal and background vocals and build it that way. And so it might take you a week to get your fully mixed song, but the recording of it would be pretty, you know, quick. Nowadays, I mean, you know, a lot of people, gosh, I mean, they're not even playing drums live anymore. It's drum loops, and, you know, and they build a track, you know, over the course of time and make change. You know, you can make it as fast as you want, or because there's so many different instruments and different plug-ins and different sounds available to us and different ways to record. I mean, sometimes you can just overdo it and spend, you know, weeks and weeks, you know, trying to perfect something, and that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. I mean, just because something is perfect doesn't mean that it's emotional and it will grab people. So,
right.
I think, you know, there are certain artists that really strive for the emotional part of recording, and other people go more for the perfection part of recording. And there are some artists that I think really have the best of both. Like I love Keith Urban stuff. I mean, I think he's so technically perfect in his singing and his playing, but it touches you. Every word he sings, every guitar lick he plays, it feels emotional. And so, you know, there are certain artists that are still doing both very well.
Well, it almost seems like in the recording studio there's more computer screens than people or emotions.
There can be. There can be. And you know, I think that's probably our greatest challenge outside of just figuring out how to monetize music these days because, through all the streaming services, it's getting harder and harder for songwriters, publishers, artists in general to make money, which is, is how we pay our bills. We put our, take care of our families and stuff. It's, getting harder and harder to, make any money doing it. But outside of that great challenge, I think our next greatest challenge is finding ways to keep the emotion and the heart in the music. And I know it's something us as a band, through our last recordings, I mean, we've always focused on the heart of the song, the storyline. I mean, you can have the greatest sounding drums, bass, guitar, piano, whatever, but if the message of the song and if the performance is technically perfect but doesn't have the heart in it, I don't think it translates as well to the fans. And I think we as a band have always, us and the guys in Lonestar, have always focused on the emotional part of the songs, whether it's up-tempo. I mean, you can put a lot of great emotion in an up-tempo song. And the same thing with a ballad. I mean, I don't think there's somebody that delivers a ballad better than Richie does, in my estimation. I mean, he's a great connector of emotional content when he sings, and I love that about his vocal.
Let me ask you then, it sort of ties into everything that we've been talking about in terms of how the industry has changed and how recording has changed. And now, as you mentioned, people are making music so quickly and it's for the sake of a quick buck. Now, does that, and I don't even know what the right word is, does that worry you? Does that concern you about the state of music? Like, where do you see this headed?
Well, like I said, my biggest concern about music is the fact that, some of our best songwriters, I mean, people that actually craft the songs, they're leaving the industry because they can't make a living at it. I mean, you have people that are having, getting songs that have over 500,000, over 500 million plays, through a provider, a streaming provider, and the payout's less than $30,000, and that $30,000 gets divided up between however many writers there are, how many publishers there are, the record label, and the artist. So, $30,000 doesn't go a long ways when you're dividing the money that way. And so some of our best songwriters, people that truly have a gift, I mean, that's what they were put on this earth to do. They're having to go do other things because they literally can't take care of their families because the streaming services pay so little per play. And I know for the fans, musically, they're thinking, well, this is great. I pay a small fee, or sometimes they don't even pay anything for these streaming services, and they think it's great. I get to hear any song I want, anytime I want. I don't have to pay anything. But what's happening is, though, I think our songs are starting to suffer. We're not getting the great. I mean, when I think about my years growing up, some of the best songs were out there. I mean, that really said something and melodically took me to a place. I mean, I can hear them to this day, and it takes me back to a time and a place. And I worry that with a lot of the music that's coming out these days, I think they're going to be forgotten about too soon because there's not as much. And of course, I'm generalizing. There are still a bunch of great songs out there and great artists. But I'm just thinking overall that's a big concern that I have.
Well, the good thing for Lonestar is there's really good money in touring, and you guys have a whole bunch of dates. See, you like how I spin that? You guys are well.
You're good. You're good.
And you guys have...
The touring is truly been amazing. I mean, it's always been what we love the most. I mean, we love recording, we love creating, but it's that live interaction with the fans that's always driven us. And I tell you what, our fans have been coming out, supporting us. I mean, show after show, they find us. I mean, we had so many fans last year that we saw. There's this one. I mean, and there's lots of them that I could name, but this one husband-wife, they followed us. I think they came to 18 shows last year, which is a lot. But the fact that they flew to Hawaii and watched us in Hawaii, and they were in California, and they were in Florida, and they went all over to watch us perform last year. And the fact that fans will that care enough about our music and our show, and they're impressed enough by it to spend that time and energy to come to the shows makes it really a powerful time for us, that 90 minutes we get on stage.
Absolutely. My colleague is holding something that says July 27th. What? Oh, you're in my hometown on July 27th. Okay. All right. You're in Winnipeg. You're Winnipeg, Manitoba. I'll see what I can do. Maybe I will fly in for that. Okay, Dean?
I tell you, that would be awesome. And I can tell you this. We are in the midst of putting together a brand new show. Actually, May 31st, we're going to be in Dayton, Ohio, and that's going to be the first of our new show. And we're so excited. We've been working on this thing for about 6 weeks now, and we're incorporating, some production elements that we haven't had in some time as a band that is really going to ramp up our stage production a lot and give the fans something they haven't seen from us in a long time. Actually, one of the elements, I'm not even going to talk about it, but I mean it's we've never done it as a band, and I think the fans that come out to the shows, outside of just hearing a lot of great music, they're going to get some other things that really elevates the energy of the show and just makes it for a total all-around better experience. And but of course, they're going to get to hear all the hits. We're calling it Hits and More Hits is the name of the tour, and that's what the fans are going to get, literally, hits and more hits.
But we're not getting any spoilers from Dean, it sounds like. That's too bad. Oh.
Well, I mean, you're getting some. I mean, it's. I can tell you this. Well, I'll just go ahead and tell you, we've added some LED screen components and some other things. I won't go into all of it, but we're adding some really cool video content and LED screens, which we've never had as a band, and some of the content is going to take people back in time. It's really fun to look back at some of the things we're adding to the screens that people are going to go, oh my God, I remember that. And, so it's going to be fun.
It's like one big Throwback Thursday, it sounds like.
It's a Throwback Thursday. I'll tell you, things are so exciting around here. I mean, you can probably hear the train in the background. There's a train going by just pumping its whistle. It's excited. It's giving us its vote of confidence, too.
Absolutely. Okay, so all of the information about your tour dates and music and everything is on your website, right?
It is, lonestarnow.com, and then they can also check us out, and we hope they do they can go to our Facebook page. They can find out all the dates. We also have an Instagram and a Twitter. So we love for all the fans to reach out to us, but it can all start if they go to lonestarnow.com. There's actually links to all of those different websites and Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. They can connect with us, and we're very active on it. So if they reach out and write in, they could very possibly get a response from us because we're all four of us very active, reaching out to our fans and talking to them.
I'm going to test that. I'm going to tweet you guys in a few minutes, okay?
All right. And I'll be honest, I'm the least on Twitter. I'm more on Instagram and Facebook, but I'll check out some Twitter, too, if that's where you go.
All right, that's what I'll do. All right, well, Dean Sams from Lonestar, thanks for joining us, and maybe I'll see you in July then.
I look forward to seeing you then, and thanks for your time.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
We're out of time. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Talk to you next week. You can email me live at jbonair.com. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a Speak Free media presentation.
If you want some real heat